At one time, science said man came from apes. Did it not? That's when you go to the science.
Every time I read or hear that, I think to myself, you just didn't read the same Bible I did.
Well, this was interesting, though. If that is true, why are there still apes?
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Herschel Walker causing some drama, some controversy on the internet due to his comments about evolution while he was at a church speaking. Now, there's so much I want to say here, but first I got to back up a little bit to explain to you what's going on, just so you have proper context and so we're on the same page with each other. Now, Herschel is running for Senate out there in Georgia to replace Raphael Warnock. Herschel is a great football player, played for Georgia back in the day. He also played for, I think, the Minnesota Vikings. Running back, really in shape dude, smart dude, in my humble opinion. I like Herschel Walker a lot. But the media are going to have a hard time trying to attack him because he's black, the same as Raphael Warnock, his opponent. It just so happens that he's a conservative and Warnock is a liberal. So rather than using the race thing, they're going to talk about Herschel Walker is dumb and incompetent and not prepared, all this, that, and the third. The exact same things they would say are racist dog whistles if he was not a conservative. Funny how that works, but I digress. So the most recent thing they want to attack Herschel Walker on is his comments on evolution. Now, before I go any further into it, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you're going to see more from what you saw at the very beginning. And if I can find the full thing, I'll link to it in the box. But after we get done with that, I'll come back. I'll talk about what was said there. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents and my deep detail analysis. And then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
It would be a shame for me to interview Herschel Walker and for you not to give a word of encouragement to those young leaders to know, don't give up, that God can redeem every day you think was stacked against you and use it for your good. And what would you say to those kids? What would you say to them?
You know, the first thing I want to say is we're all sinners.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm a sinner, and we all fall short of the glory of God. So we first got to admit that we are sinners, that we're not perfect, and we never will be perfect. But what you got to do is you got to always go after God's heart and know that Jesus lives within you, and know that you are going to have problems, but you got to keep moving forward. You got to keep moving forward, that life is okay. Because as long as you keep the faith, and one of the things, it's hard to keep the faith when you don't see him. You know, you don't see him there, right, or you can't feel him. You don't hear him sometimes, but he's there. And let me tell you the reason he's there, because you remember when he said, let there be light, you know, there had to be light. So somebody had to store it, let there be light, because something had to be created here. Come on. So when the light was created here, that means somebody up there had to say, let there be light, that the earth started. And then he had to put someone there on earth. Because remember, Adam was there. Remember, Adam came there, then Eve came. So somebody had to start it out. So that means there had to be a God. Because it didn't just some bomb blew up and it started out. And then I'll tell you something else I heard. Now think about this. Because at one time, science said man came from apes. Did it not? That's when you go to the science.
Every time I read or hear that, I think to myself, you just didn't read the same Bible I did.
Well, this was interesting, though. If that is true, why are there still apes? Think about it.
You know, now you're getting too smart for
it.
No.
Think about this. We have an evolution that is, we've gotten so intelligent that if that is true, why are there still apes? And then the conception of a baby. Let me tell you, science can't do that. They still trying to do it, but it can't, because there had to be a God. So when God came and said, now, let me create this, and God created the earth, and he put Adam and Eve there and stuff, and then this what was so funny, this what makes it even better. Even in that little garden, he said, from this place, you got all the freedom, just like you got it in the United States. You got all the freedom, do whatever you want to do. But then he said, nah, don't mess with that tree over there, because you mess with that tree, you will surely die. So he had rules and regulations, just like we got in the United States of America.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, I don't really see what he said that was wrong. I agree with Herschel on his comments about evolution. Yes, I do, 100%. Now, a disclaimer, I'm not a religious person, but a lot of people are religious. A lot of black folks, especially in Georgia, claim to be very religious. There's all kind of churches everywhere. So, I mean, if you're just going to be religious and read your book, what does your book say? God made man in his own image, and from man came woman. God created the earth, 7-day situation. On the last day he rested. That's what it says in the book. So God created earth and everything in it. God created man, created woman. The Bible itself is a book of creation. So if we're going to be Christian, if we're going to talk about believing in the faith, then you have to also believe in creationism. How are you going to be Christian and believe in evolution? It goes against what you say. It goes against the book. It goes against it right there. That's the first thing. If you are a Christian and you believe in what your book says, the book says creationism, not evolution, first and foremost. Second, he was at a church speaking, so of course it makes sense to talk about your faith in church. Why wouldn't you? Okay. And I'm not saying that he would say something different outside of church, but that's where you would talk about something like that in church. But beyond that, there's no evidence for evolution. Aside from the religion, aside from faith, there's no physical evidence for evolution. Now, what he said about apes, like why are there still apes? People will try to say, well, apes did not change into humans, or apes, chimpanzees, monkeys, orangutans, gorillas, whatever. They did not change into humans. They say that we have a common ancestor that created, well, that eventually became like the monkeys, all of that, and then humans. But the problem is that there's no evidence of this so-called common ancestor anywhere in the fossil record. You would think that if this took millions of years to happen for the common ancestor to become chimpanzees and then humans, if that took millions of years to happen, there would be a few, or at least two things. First of all, there would be evidence, physical evidence in the fossil record of this so-called common ancestor. That has not been found. It doesn't exist as far as we know. Maybe they might find it one day, but I don't think so. When they find fossils, typically what they find is shells and fish. They found shells and fish like on top of Mount Everest. How did that happen? Was it some kind of event that caused a lot of water to get all the way up over all the mountain peaks and all the water and all the land everywhere? Maybe that happened. Now, what could cause something like that? A big flood, which is why maybe the dinosaurs got wiped out. But things that look like dinosaurs, like alligators, crocodiles, and humongous things like whales, those still exist because they're under the water. I'm just saying that makes more sense than saying there's a common ancestor that we've never seen before that is the father of humans and apes. Okay. And then I was watching a little bit of Roland Martin, and then Roland Martin was trying to say what Herschel said about why apes still exist is the equivalent to saying, why do wolves exist if there's dogs? But that's so dumb because dogs are wolves. Okay, wolves are dogs. They're part of the same family. They're canines. Wolves, dogs, coyotes, foxes, they're all the same family. Okay, you can have a dog and a wolf breed and make a wolf dog. That's a thing. But there's no such thing as an ape human. Okay, and I'm sure they tried and breed apes and humans before. That doesn't work. Certain kind of cats, they can breed. A lion and a tiger, they can breed and have a liger. Okay, certain types of like horses, a horse and a donkey, they could breed as well. I think a horse and a donkey is sterile when it actually has a child. Well, the offspring is sterile. But you understand what I mean? There's different species of animal, and within that species, there's different types. And really, if you're talking about humans, there's different types of humans. You got different races, different skin color, different physical features, different types. But at the end of the day, we're all still human. You could be a black person, have a baby with a white person, an Asian person, or whatever. There's all kind of different mixes of human, but we're all still, at the end of the day, human. We are not ape at all. Point blank, period. So the evidence people come up with to say that what he says doesn't make any sense is just not really there. People that believe in evolution, in my humble opinion, also have a faith. But I think their faith has much less circumstantial evidence than creationism. That's just my opinion. I mean, the funniest thing is Darwin talking about evolution from his point of view, saying that, okay, a cow started going to the ocean, not to a creek or a pond or a river, which would make more sense for a cow to do. Nah, the cow going to go to the beach and then go start hanging out by the water. What you going to do? Catch fish right there as a cow? But anyway, so the cow goes to the beach, starts playing around in the sand, in the shore, and then after millions of years, this cow becomes a whale. There's no evidence of that at all, none whatsoever. And one of the main things people just don't really come up with is what they call a transitional form. So, if Darwin is right and a cow became a whale over millions of years from gradual changes in time, then let's say the actual cow is point A and the whale is point C. Well, from millions of years of changes and adaptations and this, that, and the third, for the cow to become a whale, there's got to be a point B in between the A and the C. That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist for any animal, any organism on planet Earth. It doesn't exist. They've not been able to find it. They've not been able to find it. And I will challenge anybody to try and prove me wrong. They talk about Lucy in Africa. Oh, we found a missing link. They ain't nothing but a small chimpanzee. They ain't no missing link. Okay, find me the common ancestor number one. Find me that common ancestor, just one fossil, and you should be able to find thousands upon thousands of these fossils of the common ancestor if we live for that long. If we have this really old Earth the way they say, if the Earth is millions of years old, surely we should be able to find some fossils, some mummified remains of one common ancestor, of one transitional form, of one animal type, of one organism on Earth. It does not exist. Like I said, what we find mostly when we're talking about fossils, fish and shells and crabs, and that's what we find because of the water that came crashing upon shore. And there's evidence a little bit for that, at least circumstantial. If you ever see the Earth without water, or you can see like the ocean floor, there's a map of the ocean floor where you see the rift. Without being too long-winded and too complicated, there's a big crack that goes all the way around the world. And at the crack, the age of the seafloor is new or newer than the age going all the way to the continental shelf. So, prime example, you have a crack like right in between America and Europe, right in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the closer you are to the crack, the younger the ocean's floor is. This is new floor. Once you get closer to the actual continents, it becomes much older, and the shelf itself is very old compared to the floor that's right next to it. So what happened? Maybe the Earth was smaller, the crack happens, it explodes a bunch of subterranean water that causes a big extinction level event where the land animals die, but the ocean animals don't, which is why you have alligator, crocodiles, sharks, etc. All these prehistoric looking things in the water. All those things on the surface go away, but not in the water, which is why you have so many fossils of shells and fish and whatnot on the surface. When they find fossils of shells and fish, they don't find it underwater, they find it on land. I don't want to go too deep into it. All I'm saying is that there's more circumstantial evidence for creation than evolution. I mean, look at your body, the way things work, all the systems that are so perfect and in sync with each other, and everything's so symmetrical. Look at nature, the way things are, the way the animals all work together in the ecosystem, the bees and the trees and the flowers and everything else. I mean, even some of the most microscopic things work to keep the environment together, to keep the environment in check, even the weather. I mean, all these things work together. But you mean to tell me that a big bomb blew off and then that's what happened? We came from that? I mean, it's ridiculous. But as I close, I want to say this. It's funny how the mainstream media are trying to label Herschel Walker as dumb and incompetent and shiftless, like the old stereotypes of black men from back in the day that they say are racist. They want to use it against him because he's a conservative and they don't like conservatives, and they want to have the liberal guy in there. Maybe they just want the liberal guy to just do their bidding, to do whatever they say, and they don't want to have a guy in there that has his own mind and his own brain that can do things for himself. They want to call him a Trump lackey and the GOP a errand boy and stuff like that. Ridiculous, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what Herschel Walker said about evolution? Did it make sense? Did it not make sense? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I stand. Evolution, there's not much evidence for that. It's a belief. Creationism, there's more evidence for that. I can't say that I can prove that creationism, but if you're looking at circumstantial evidence, creationism has much more there than evolution. It just is what it is. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.